Liverpool 3-0. Corner taken quickly. Shot. 5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Oh my God! What? Oh my God!
Trying to win it all again. Posada, slow roller right side. Beckett picks it up, tags Posada, and the Florida Marlins are world champion. And now the fans here salute their team with "Let's Go Predators." A turnaround shot that rattled wide. Subban one more try, deflected over the net, and the Pittsburgh Penguins again are the Stanley Cup champions.
You know why I'm here. You know why I'm here.
We're going to play for the American League Championship!
We call that simply lovely.
Hello and welcome to the show, which we cannot call the show because MLB apparently has a thing and we have lawyers on it. But so it is now the Thom and Joe show, Sportstravaganza.
It is the
I'm Joe the Man Stratman.
I'm Tom El Gatito Langley. You're on the Sportscast. Hello, good afternoon, evening, morning, and if you're listening to us in the middle of the night, get some sleep.
Yes. Actually, I would like to call you Tom CIA Langley, but you're British, so that would mean you're a spy somewhere, and I
Yes.
just revealed you're a spy.
He's blown my
sorry.
He's blown my cover. Yes, we're going to be talking sports, and surprisingly enough, some more sports. Just as we go round the sports world and talk about various sports as we do on the sports show. Sports.
Okay, I'm gonna get off that voice. I can't do like the Stephen A. Smith or like sports talk radio head guy.
If you use that voice too much, the Fox NFL music starts manifesting, and we don't have the license for that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not even the Super Nintendo version.
Nope. Anyway, so where should we start today on the Sportscast? I'm gonna stop doing that voice.
Well, we'll just introduce it a little bit, just because, like, we shouldn't say "as you know," because, as the angry critic people said, nobody ever says "as you know" in real conversation, even though I just was going to do it.
Yeah.
But anyway, we talk about nerdy stuff all the time on the Thom and Joe show, and we talk about music stuff, sometimes cool stuff, sometimes really super nerd shit.
Yep.
But, what you don't know, or maybe you do know, is we both are really into sports, and we don't really have an outlet for this except for each other most of the time.
Yeah, and occasionally sort of hangers on and sort of, occasional other people. But it's usually just us yelling at sports in a Discord server and everyone going, "What are they talking about? What is this? What is this round hand egg game? What are these owls that are superb?" And so on. Yeah, so, yeah, I'm one of these subset, and Joe's one of these subset, and, listeners, hey, you might be part of this subset that is like, hey, sports are just another nerdy thing. With lots of facts and figures and people to know and many, many sideburns, particularly during the 1970s to 80s.
Yeah, and if you live in the Midwest in America, like I do, you need to know sports, otherwise you can't talk about shit.
Yeah, and in the UK, you kind of need to be able to, name a football team you are vaguely affiliated with, even if it's just your local one. Otherwise, everyone thinks you're a bit weird. That's soccer, I should point out for our American. We're gonna be coming across this a long time. Now I'm British, and the habit is gonna be that I'm gonna call what you Americans and what other nations call soccer. I'm going to call soccer football and American football, but for the sake of this, I'm going to, and for your poor brain, Joe, so we don't talking about football and then football and confusing each other, I'm going to commit a British felony, and I'm going to call association football soccer for the duration of this.
You could always call it a bit of footy then.
A footy, yes, footy.
A footy, not footy.
Footy.
It
footy.
is actually just footy, not a footy.
A footy, yeah. Not to
I
be
am
confused
learning
with
British English for the first time.
Not to be confused with Aussie rules football, which, as you may have guessed, is from the Down Under. They also play soccer. I think they've got to World Cups before, but the Australians also have their own variant of football, which is more like actually American football, but with changes. And I'm now banned from Australia. Anyway,
They may have gotten a tie once.
indeed.
Now I'm banned from Australia.
Anyway, I kind of feel we need to sort of start by sort of going through like the teams that we support, which probably will have
This
nice.
is going to be fun because, like, I am not a natural sports person. I mean, my mom will tell you that the only way she could get me to sleep was like with something on the television, and the only thing on the television in 1982 in June was the College World Series on ESPN.
Yeah,
And they were running reruns of it at 1 in the morning, because what else could you do? It's 1982, and we just started this cable thing.
Yeah, and that's
But,
American football. That's American college football, isn't it?
No, the College World Series is baseball.
Oh,
It's
bloody
college
hell,
baseball.
God. Okay, right, okay. Cool.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, and that happens in, like, June, even though college is out.
Yep, makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense.
Makes sense.
But,
So,
but, you know, eventually I grew up, and, you know, I had to pick my teams. So, I did it at the most random, like, 11-year-old thing. Like, for baseball, I pointed at the Florida Marlins and said, "Wow, I like that color. That color teal is cool. That is my team now." And in basketball, I have the Minnesota Timberwolves because, wow, I like wolves and I like blue and green. Let's do that. And let's see, the Pittsburgh Penguins for hockey was. They have a player named Super Mario. I like Super Mario Brothers, and I like penguins, so Pittsburgh Penguins.
that makes sense.
And Pittsburgh Steelers, I don't know exactly how I fell into that.
Yeah.
It was just, it was kind of a family thing. I don't know. My mom likes quarterbacks, and I don't know if she liked Terry Bradshaw at the time or not, but because she usually likes things like Joe Montana. Or Brett Favre, or I don't know who was the most recent one, but I mean, probably not Brett Favre now, but like back in the 90s, back in the
House in
you
days
know,
where he wasn't
Packers,
committing tax evasion.
Brett Favre. Yes.
Yes. And then we come to your soccer team, Joe, which is
Yes.
Sunderland.
And Sunderland.
I have to know,
because
like,
James
the story.
Sunderland from Silent Hill 2. It was a name association. It's probably not a good name association, especially once you know my curse, is that any foreign team I support immediately goes down the tubes. Like, literally the year after I started supporting Sunderland was when they got taken out of Premier.
Yep.
And then the very
Relegated.
next year, relegated. Yes. And then they got relegated to League One.
Yep.
And that's when they had the Netflix documentary, Sunderland Till I Die, which, like, to be fair, the third season, like, they brought in a bunch of people for, like, 4 episodes and barely did any work to, like, bring them getting back to championship. But the first 2 seasons are just, what the fuck just happened? Why aren't they fucking doing it? Why don't people want to play for this fucking football team?
Yeah.
What the fuck is Yeah, I mean, they're a lot nicer about it.
Yeah.
The series is all right. I guess if they kind of try to explain it, but they don't have much. But it's kind of this in the middle thing where they have this all access stuff, but it doesn't feel like they use it very well.
No.
But it's not very beginner friendly. You can kind of understand it, I guess, but they pop you right in there. They explain things as they go, but only as they go.
Yeah. The problem is with a lot of and this is becoming like a really big trend, isn't it? They just do a Netflix series and it's like, we'll follow, I don't know, let's just pull a name off the phone. We're gonna follow Leeds United around for like a season with cameras, and or we're gonna follow Feyenoord around for a season. We get if you're
and then there's the Hulu series following around Ryan Reynolds and Wrexham.
Yeah, which is obviously probably the most famous and certainly the most profitable one. Although given that the team that my brother supports, one of the teams my brother supports, is Wycombe Wanderers, who are the local team. And they are obviously in the same division as Wrexham, who are one of the oldest teams in English football, just by the fact they play in Wales.
A couple of years ago, we have what was called a Thom and Joe Bowl, which was whenever one of our teams plays another, where for promotion, it was the Wanderers facing Sunderland, the Black Cats, and Black Cats won.
Yep.
As they probably should have, because they were in Premier 3 years ago. But I like the third season of Sunderland Till I Die. Half of it was focused on the coach the Wanderers had at the time.
Oh yeah, because then Wycombe have a bad habit of just getting coaches, losing coaches, and the coach going on to do be manager of Celtic, or the international manager for Bulgaria. We seem to lose managers to weird and wacky places. Anyway, so that's your teams you support. Mine are more closely geographically aligned.
Yes.
Yeah, so I don't actually have a basketball team, and I should probably get round to picking one of those, because that seems to be the big sort of sport of it. So I support in NFL the Seattle Seahawks. This came about because a friend of mine lived in the area and was like, "Hey, you should watch some football with us." And then I watched some and then I went, "I love this nearly man sort of bizarre bird team," and decided to make that fun. I also, to Joe's chagrin, kind of occasionally hop onto the Baltimore train, which means we have to...
Baltimore Ravens.
Yes, the Baltimore Ravens, because...
Which makes sense, Edgar Allan Poe, and...
literary
yeah,
and
that kind of fits in your thing.
Yeah, I occasionally go into Gothicism and hey, the one goth team in the NFL. I support the Seattle Mariners, who are the baseball team, and again, nearly men in the grand scheme of things. Some good players, but I've only been supporting them for a couple of seasons, during which they've done that. And since their inception, I have supported for NHL, for ice hockey, the Seattle Kraken, who kind of have been going up and down and very strange things. To be fair, you did support the Seattle Mariners when they ended their drought of playoffs, which was the longest drought in sports history. So you might be a good luck charm. I'm not going to say you're a bandwagoner, because I had no idea what was going on. Basically, at the point, it's we've got through to something. Holy shit! What?
Yeah, the playoffs have been expanded to a weird amount, but they did make it through to knockout stuff. So
and
it's not the technical one.
No.
We'll talk about the recent March Madness stuff, which is very it's very new to you, and it's very confusing.
It's very confusing. In terms of football, soccer, I support Liverpool. Because again, a friend was into it, and I went, okay, let's support Liverpool. And screw it, I'm going to go out to the world of motor racing. I support in F1 current world champion Max Verstappen, Ferrari driver Charles Leclerc, and Alfa. I'm not going to give the entire team name because it's terrible. The team known as Racing Bulls, I support Yuki Tsunoda. That's 3 F1 drivers. That's quite exciting at the weekend. Yeah, it's I don't know if this is one of the things. Formula 1 has obviously made big inroads into the United States, because I think you now have 3 races across the country. You've got Circuit of the Americas.
There's the Las Vegas one of them.
Las Vegas and Miami, and 2 of those are obviously street circuits, which obviously the older part of the fandom go, this is terribly boring, this isn't a proper track, this isn't this is a car park, and it's but and I think obviously the sport has been trying to break America in a way that I don't know if it's ill-judged, because I don't know very much about the American breeds of motor racing. I know you've obviously got NASCAR, Indy 500, and then there's other...
Yeah, they do have the Indy 500, so there is some of that kind of stuff, but they have kart racing, and they have truck... They have some off-road stuff, and...
If you can race it, we'll race it.
Yeah.
sort of stuff.
I mean, and they have stock car racing,
Yeah.
which is just like drive a straight line as fast as you can and try not to die.
Yeah, yeah, which we got to a certain extent in the UK. I mean, F1 is the big one. I mean, you obviously get MotoGP, which is obviously motorcycles, but it's dwarfed. Particularly, obviously, in the aftermath. Obviously, now the Drive to Survive, which again is another Netflix behind the scenes series, which is, yeah, again, it's like, hey, why not, create this real soap opera? It's like, yeah, but it's not really like that. It's, it's 20 guys racing each other, and okay, there's rivalries, but I don't think it ever comes to sort of soap opera storylines that Drive to Survive indicates there is, because it's, you could edit, you've got to get into a, this is for entertainment. We are going to cut this like it's for entertainment. We are not going to go, we're going to cut things together to create an interesting storyline, even if it's not really true. Anyway,
Reminds me, I need to watch Hard Knocks, because last season was the AFC North,
okay,
which was our division.
Oh boy!
Yeah,
oh boy!
I've never watched Hard Knocks, but I've never had HBO, and
No.
I have like Max on a like $1.99
Jesus.
with ads
Yeah.
subscription. So
Yeah.
like, anytime I can just like, get a cheap thing for these subscriptions,
Yeah.
I do it.
Because that's the thing with your sport, obviously in the UK it's very much, Sky Sports have got most things, you've got Amazon who are starting to muscle in with certain things, but it'd be like, this game here, and then there's like, I guess like a couple of other things, but it's mostly Sky, whereas you in the United States have got, this game is on here, this game is on here, this game is on here, you got ESPN Monday Night Football, you got Fox Football, you got this, that, and it's like, to follow a season must be absolutely ruinous if you're like a serious sport. If you want to watch, I don't know, you want to watch the Buffalo Bills the entire season. You're probably on about 4 stations, because it's just like, and then they get into the
Although I learned this because I work in Kansas City now, but as a TV station, you can buy the local rights to one and put it over the air, but multiple stations can do that. We have done that, and then our NBC affiliate has done that.
Yeah.
Because they are the home of the Chiefs, they paid for it.
Oh, yeah.
And some of us realized it's not really worth paying that.
No.
Although they are getting the Chiefs. I shouldn't say any more, but they are getting harder on people who aren't the home of the Chiefs, like what they have access to and what they don't.
Yeah.
So that's becoming part and parcel of getting that now. But I will say no more, because that I was almost getting into inside baseball, which we should.
No,
it's football, it's inside baseball.
No. But you get the same thing in the UK, where you go, the big teams, Liverpool, Manchester United, Manchester City, and Arsenal, they've got their own station. They've got fan TV, ArsenalTV.com or whatever. And they will literally have exclusive stuff, and but yeah, I mean, this is the thing. Obviously, but most sports are. But I think obviously, in the US, I think you have more of an accessibility to sports, because obviously you've been, I've never been to a football game. I've never been to an NFL, obviously when we have the 3 or 4 NFL games in the UK, I've never been to an F1 race, because it's, you want to get a decent view, cool, that'll be 200 quid for the weekend, 200, 300 for the weekend, you'll see that, you'll see each car about a minute, because you are on the corner of this, and you'll see the cars go by at 200 miles an hour. There are, so I mean, this is the
that's probably why NASCAR does the thing it does and has things in stadiums where and they have the turn left, you won't miss a thing, turn left, because it's all circles, or
speedways,
tracks that are in an arena. The Kansas Speedway, we have it over here, where people can all sit and watch the whole thing. And I've never really liked that part of that, which is part of the reason why I've never been into auto racing. Also, it's one of those things where I have more fun doing it playing Gran Turismo or some racing game than I do watching it. Like, I get why golf is fun to play. I don't get why it's fun to watch.
No, I've never
except when they have like the great shots, but like watching like 50 dudes just like, well, yep, that was a shot. That was a shot. Let's move to the next. Yep,
clap,
that
clap,
was
clap,
a shot.
clap, clap. Well done. Yep, yeah.
Clap.
This is the thing,
Yep.
but with baseball, for example, like how much? I mean, this is sort of a thing I don't think we really get in the UK. Is that, how much the whole thing with baseball. I like baseball. I can kind of, because like I look at NFL and after about 3 or 4 years of watching it, I kind of just about got an idea of what the sort of how an NFL game plays out. This is how this works, and this is what and I'm reasonably good at explaining baseball. Guy throws a ball, guy hits it. It has to go in like in between these sort of thing. It has to run to the it's so simple. It's simple. I understand baseball. It's like I missed one team, and I think you may have missed one team. We also both support Japanese baseball teams.
Yes, we do. I support the Hokkaido Fighters.
And I support
They're not the Ham Fighters. That's just like Hokkaido. That's the company.
Yep.
But they're just the Hokkaido Fighters if you want to leave the corporation out of it.
Yeah. And I support the Giants, who also known as the Tokyo Giants. Yeah. This is the thing with Japanese baseball. Almost every team is owned by somebody. So for example, the Yomiuri Giants, as they're called, are owned by Japan's biggest newspaper, and you'll have like the tube, various teams who are like owned by thing, and obviously they probably got links to them a long time. But I like the Giants. They're sort of like the one time I've gone instantly, I don't know anything about this team, but they look cool.
And Hokkaido is where they put the weirdos, so that's where I go.
It's cold.
It has nothing to do with Shohei Ohtani. I found out Shohei Ohtani was on the Hokkaido Fighters after I did that, and I was like, oh, I come off like a bandwagoning shit.
Oh, dear.
Don't I? Although they have like second or third best odds to win the league this year, NPD.
Yep.
MPB,
yeah.
Excuse me.
Nippon something
I actually do have an article on MLB Power Pros, which is Power Pros is the Japanese video game where it's the cute little heads with the disembodied arms, and they it's very cute, but it's very iconic, and it's an extremely good baseball game. And it's one of the few things Konami still makes now and then.
Consistently.
I was a big for when Ichiro was a huge thing. It came out in the U.S. and I had both years when it came out in the U.S. And I did an article on it on Hardcore Gamer 101.
Yep.
So
linking that below.
Look for MLB Power Pros.
Yeah, I'll link it below.
Or my name.
Yeah, I'll link it below. But yeah, this is
so that paid me $50, which I then used to buy the Japanese version of Power Pros, the recent one, and then I have Google Glass so I can translate it, even though
that's amazing.
It translates certain things to "I fucked the coach." No, yes.
What does it actually mean? What does it actually mean? I'm about fascinated. I fucked the coach.
So I have my player Batty McBatface, who is now on Hokkaido.
Yep.
And is dating a kitsune spirit.
Oh my... What? Yes, standard normal Japanese baseball there, ladies and gentlemen. Standard normal...
standard Japanese career baseball stuff.
Yeah, standard stuff.
Like, Power Pros is an incredibly fascinating game series.
Yeah.
Check it out.
Yeah. Read Joe's article below. But I mean, this is the sort of thing, baseball is accessible, and then you get cricket in the... I mean, it's also the thing, it's like, baseball is an event. You go to baseball, you go for like a day, it's like most of an afternoon or an evening. You sit, you do stuff while the baseball happens, and occasionally a little Japanese shark girl turns up, and then she becomes the mascot for the team, and then they win a World Series.
And they sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game."
Yeah, which is another I love the traditions. I said if they ever do, because they occasionally do UK baseball games because they do baseball games all over the world, and I think they recently did like a game between the Cubs and I can't remember which other team. It was Japan. And it's like, oh my god.
Oh, Los Angeles Dodgers.
Yes. And it was like,
Because
hey.
of course the Dodgers.
And it's like, hey, there's like, you know, all this cool stuff, and hey, Ichiro's there because he's now going to the Hall of Fame, and it's like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, as I said, but it strikes me that baseball, you know, and American sports in general are like, there is still a degree compared to, like, you know, the way that the Premier League has become very, you know, very money centric and very, you know, how much profit can we make? There is still this element of like the people in, you know, certainly in baseball and to a certain degree in NFL, because obviously you get certain teams like, you know, the Green Bay Packers who will go, no, there is a list, I don't care how much money you have on you, there is a list, you are not going up the list until somebody who's got a season ticket dies. You know, that's
the Packers.
That's the Packers. And are there teams that do sort of something similar? Because it's, you know,
I'm sure there are. Probably the Cubs have something similar to that because they have a similar. But also the Cubs have done everything. So there are teams that are like that, but it's mostly the Packers because Green Bay wouldn't have a team if it wasn't for this local rabid fan base.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Like, there's no Green Bay professional team anywhere else, and the only reason they have it is because of this special, you know, quote unquote ownership that the people of Green Bay have on the Packers.
Yeah, because I think the German leagues have something. There's something like this 50+1, and I think it's like, you know, a lot. It's more democratic. You know, the season tickets can never go above a certain thing because, you know, the 51% of the team is owned by, you know, fans of the team, and you know that's the problem is the Premier League. You go, yep, come in, Gulf State, buy a football team. Do you want some Russian oligarch? You know, and the problem is, I feel, you know, I mean, Chelsea, Manchester City, you know, Newcastle. I mean, that's, you know, the problem is I find is, you know, the Premier League has become very gentrified, and it's like, you know, football. You know, and obviously you get the old school fans, but you're sort of looking at something like particularly like Manchester United, where it's just like, no, we're not giving seniors and kids a discount anymore. That's 60 quid to bring a kid. And it's like, you know, you know, you did that in something like, I don't know, baseball, you'd be lynched. You would be, you know. I
mean, they don't get you in the ticket prices. Where they get you is in the parking.
And because, the concessions.
You have mass transit. We do not have mass transit here. We have gigantic parking lots that are very, very limited. And I think only our Major League Soccer team has a free spot. I mean, there are spots you can park off, but you have to be very careful about it.
Yeah.
Because the owners of the restaurants and stores around you will tow. But, like, there is a bus system that goes out there, but, like, the road system in Kansas City is very terrible. To the point where getting anywhere takes 15 to 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Even if it's, like, a couple miles away.
Yeah.
Because Kansas City is made. There's a metropolitan area which has some stuff.
Yep.
But the suburbs where most things were like 27,000 to 55,000 suburbs until it became this gigantic thing of over 1 million people.
Oh God!
But they all want to pretend there's still 55,000 to 27,000 people, and it doesn't work like that. And everybody's just like, well, we'll just expand the interstate, and that's not how that works. And that's not how it works through. And then all these communities don't want apartment complexes. They don't want like duplexes. They don't want multi-people housing. But then they have all of these people who work in Kansas City, Kansas, but can't live in that community are going to drive through it. So you have all of this traffic. And my God, this is all a mess. So where they get you is parking.
Yeah.
And parking is like $40 by itself.
Oof. And then you get in, and then you want to eat something. I mean, let me ask you a question. Obviously, you've seen baseball games. I mean, how much is?
Yes. okay, they have discount nights. Like, I went to a Miami Marlins versus the Kansas City Royals game on Dollar Dog nights.
Okay.
The drinks were $20. The dozen of hot dogs I got were $12. So that's how you game it. But the alcoholic drink I got for my son was $20.
Jesus.
So.
And how much were the tickets? I guess is my other question.
Oh, the tickets were about $40 a piece plus parking, plus taxes, plus handling, plus whatever else they want to throw on. Plus, I had to talk to my bank because like one of the SeatGeek, StubHub, one of those people. I'm not going to name the specific place. It wasn't either of those, but I don't want to give them advertising. But they charged me twice. And then they said, oh, that one got canceled, but it's not on our record, so this is a charge. So I had to go to my bank to get it taken off. So
Fun.
Like, it was hell just to get, like, 3 seats to go to a baseball game with my father-in-law, my son, and myself.
Yeah, I mean, how many? What's like $120? That's $120.
About $40 a piece plus taxes and handling.
I mean, I would struggle. I think you would struggle to go and see a Premier League game with 2 people for that much. That's 92 quid.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the thing. This is what I mean about baseball. You know, I assume NFL is about the same, more or less, or it depends on where you're seated.
Depends. Like, it really depends. Because I went to a football game. This was unusual because the Kansas Jayhawks, the college football team, and college sports are a big thing in America. They are gigantic. Like, Stephen Fry did a special across America, and he went to the Iron Bowl, which was Alabama versus Auburn, and they had the Blue Angels flight squad do a flyover. And this was just a regular season college football game, and this happens all over the country.
Yeah, college football is insane. College football is insane.
It's insane. Like, top of football, but and college basketball is insane. But anyway, so football, the Kansas Jayhawks stadium was being rebuilt, and they had to play at Arrowhead. So my team, Iowa State Cyclones, because I went to college at Iowa State, were playing at Arrowhead, and my brother got me Christmas presents, and I got the receipt for that. Sorry, Alex, I know how much they cost, and thank you so very much. Though they were really expensive. They were about $145 a piece, and then there was the parking, which was like $20 to $40.
Yeah, okay. But that an NFL would be about the same or more, because I mean the UK
probably more, depending on how the team is doing. The Chiefs would be up.
The Browns would be
Please take.
Please. We need people in there, otherwise the spirits start sitting and they keep making sort of cutting motions with their hands.
Yeah, the Royals would, if you wanted to get in, like the you're not going to get a baseball seat.
No.
They would be about $20, but I wanted nicer seats because it was my one outing. It's my one chance to see my team in like 6 years.
Yeah.
They do a rotating thing where they'll play one division, like the American League and the National League are separate things, and they will do cross league, but they will do it in a cyclical fashion where they'll have one on the road and series that's on the road, and then they'll have one at home the next year, and then they'll go to the next division, and then they'll just cycle through that.
Yeah.
And so you can't just go see the Royals and the Marlins at Kauffman Stadium. It's we call it Royal Stadium, but it's Kauffman. But you can't just see them every year. That's not how that works. And football is similar. Like they'll have certain divisions they play out of their own divisions that they'll play off and on.
Yeah, so for example,
and basketball, you'll eventually just play fucking everyone.
Yeah, I mean, for example, if we take the Seattle Mariners versus Miami Marlins, now we're getting 3 games this year, Joe. We're getting 3
games, whole 3 games.
Whole 3 games. Yeah, but the Mariners have played each other like I think 8 times in like nearly 2 decades. It's like, there's not, and obviously, we get occasional Tom and Joe bowls where it's like, Seattle will play.
The Pittsburgh Penguins in hockey, like the Seattle Kraken, like NHL, they will play everyone.
Oh yeah,
everyone
absolutely,
plays everyone.
absolutely, yeah. Because that's the thing. So I mean, this is the other thing about baseball. Baseball season is just like ridiculous. It's like there's like 90. Yeah. How many games is it a year? Like 67?
162 games.
Holy shit!
And there are 82 in basketball.
I mean, this is and then you get NFL. It's like, we can't possibly do more than 18 games. That's too many games.
Yeah, they're at 17 plus the playoffs.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Also, those are the biggest men you have ever seen.
Yep.
In the top health of their lives.
Yeah.
Slamming into each other at full speed, even with pads. That is like they've invented like new injuries for what football does to people.
Oh yeah, it's like hey,
like Will Smith, tell the truth. Tell the truth.
Yeah, that is, and that's sort of also becoming a thing in rugby over here in the UK. It's like, banging heads and like being tackled so hard you like wake up with like winded like 10 minutes later. That is not good for people. We are discovering this now. Yeah, there's like this is the whole thing with like international rugby is there's a whole sense of like actually like a lot of our play there's like really sad stories of like people on the England team who won the 2003 Rugby World Cup genuinely like 22 years later cannot remember it. And obviously there has to be you have to sort of start to look at, okay, this is all very well having these extremely talented sports people like play full contact sports all the time. Yeah, you kind of need to start looking into how to make sure they do that without lasting damage to themselves, kind of thing. And obviously
soccer is, I don't know if I would call it underrated, but it's very under publicized for like how much people get their heads.
Oh yeah, heading the ball. Yeah, it's like again, it's because you obviously had the thing that Will Smith, and I can't remember what the actual term was, but obviously Smith's character is based upon a real person, and actually it was like, this is really affecting our older players, obviously from the 70s and 80s where
it really came to my head when like one of the first football players I remember, Junior Seau, he was a star defensive player for the San Diego Chargers.
Yeah.
And like he just killed himself in the middle of traffic.
Yeah. Absolutely. And obviously, there needs to be, more safeguarding. Obviously, you can go, football used to be, you used to have to head a really heavy ball, mate. It was made of like thing, and it's like, but that wasn't good. That was like, this is the problem with the with UK football in England is you get the sort of you get 50% of these people, you get a lot of a core of people who go, remember the glory days when like such and such every player's like is drinking Bovril and womanizing and doing this and that, and it's like, but that was like 50 years ago. This is no longer. You can't just have people like you can't have players like George Best anymore who are like win a match, get drunk for 2 days, roll up to training on like the Monday or Tuesday afterwards, having been basically on a 3 to 4 day bender, and instantly go, that's acceptable behavior. That's I mean. Yeah, that's the thing. Anyway, where were we? Baseball. Yeah. So
we're everywhere. But,
we're everywhere. So, but the kind of thing that obviously, baseball obviously you do this day out thing, and it's like, and then you have cricket in the UK and obviously other countries as well. I mean, the British seem to have this habit, and the English particularly. We invent a sport. We teach the rest of the world how to play this sport. We keep wondering why we lose it all the time. It's like we created football.
The Americans are getting there with baseball. I mean, they do, but like they do lose it all the time. But
usually to other Americans. It's like
the
World Series.
They do. Japan is has taken baseball and gone like cybernetic with it. Like it
completely.
is like a art.
Oh yeah.
It is a but it's a technical art in Japan because they have it. It is a science. Not that it isn't a science in math. It's more of a math in America because we're obsessed with the stats. But like baseball in Japan, it's like it is philosophy. It is getting. This is all you care about, and this is your life now.
Yeah. I'd certainly say there's this argument, conversation, whatever. Like, what is the dominant? Because obviously, in England, it's absolutely football. Football is the English sport. You can go, oh, but cricket. No. Cricket is what gentlemen play. Cricket is, gentlemen. You have cricket. During the summer, you might get, obviously, and occasionally we go and play the Australians. And the Australians go, hey, do you remember that thing where you burnt because we beat you? We beat you. Yeah, we're gonna play for that for like a month. The cricket is. I don't think cricket has ever like made inroads into the US. I think is that correct?
I mean, there's some people who are into it. I kind of learned how it works. Like, you kind of run back and forth until the guys throw the thing into the pole, and the game can last as long as it needs to.
Yeah. It's the only sport in the world which can be played for 5 days and be a draw.
Yes.
Yeah. This is how cricket works as a thing. You basically and this is the other thing. Like, cricket is wonderful in terms of kind of like cricket is kind of like, but I mean, obviously I'm not going to draw comparisons to baseball because baseball is, we've got like rounders, which is sort of our version of baseball but soft and kind of like played mostly by kids. Cricket is, if baseball is like an evening out or an afternoon out, cricket is just a week out, and you'll get like there's obviously I'm not going to sort of like try and find it because there's cricket commentary obviously on the BBC, because obviously on the BBC you have nice upper class gentlemen, including the Blofeld, who's obviously like one of the big British cricketers, and yes, that is where the name comes from for James Bond.
And one of the commentators has to be called Nigel.
There's always got to be like a Nigel, or and usually it'll have like two nicely upper class English gentlemen who've played the sports as only as amateurs, you see, and you have like one South African guy who's got up, it's like, hey mate, I never, the most excitable, South African, it's like, alright mate, so, or somebody, or they'll get like a New Zealander, or heaven forbid,
the human vuvuzela,
heaven forbid, an Australian, obviously, and they'll just start like, and obviously, you'll be having some English guy doing like a 40-50 run sort of tally, because obviously, and it's the other beautiful thing about cricket is cricket stops for tea and stops for lunch. It's like you imagine that in baseball. It's like, do you want to stop for a bit, and just like, okay, and but obviously you'll have these old English boys, and the other person who's actually played cricket this side of the century, sort of like, and they're just obviously, and then you get the beautiful thing, which is that rain can entirely stop play, but they've still got to fill the air, because it's like, they've got to sit there, and and F1 has this to a certain extent. On the BBC, you've got the F1, and the F1, you go to like Canada where it always rains, or you go to like Spa where it's always raining, and they go, well, nothing's happening because it's raining, the cars can't go out, which is fantastic because there is a Pirelli wet weather tyre. It is the most useless thing in existence. But anyway, you have these guys, and obviously you have the commentary, because they've got to fill air. You can't just cut away to another station, because it's if you've got the Canadian Grand Prix, it's about 8 o'clock in the evening, and like in like April, and nothing else is happening, and they'll just go, and obviously, and the same with cricket, obviously they'll just go on like random asides, and like, you know, and just like, and someone will bring a cake up to them, and they'll sort of, you know, sit and drink tea and cake, and occasionally the ball will come into the room, and it's like, somebody's just some, you know, got some you know, Sri Lanka cricketer just smashed the ball so hard it's ended up in the commentary booth. Anyway, but cricket is wonderful. I mean, I recommend, you know, and obviously you get IPL, which is like that, but very, IPL is brilliant because obviously it's 2020 cricket, and it's very quick, and it's very, you know, you know, a game. It's more like how baseball is played, because it's obviously 20 overs, which is, I think, you know, it's something like 60-70 balls, and that's it. You know, that's it. You know, and the other team come out and they have to try and beat that score. That's, you know, the other end of cricket. But it's all. I recommend absolutely, like, anybody come and, like, you know, listen to a cricket game, because I feel it has the same sort of sensibility of, you know, where you listen to baseball on the radio and it goes, and then, you know, someone hits the ball and it's like, you know, it's something you got to just let flow in the background, I think.
And baseball does have rain delay stuff too.
Oh,
but
yeah, no,
because it's 162 games a year, they prepare for it. So they'll make all of these like little packages of interviews with people that last forever, and they'll have, like, sometimes the network itself will have it, but if you have like the official carrier of so and so, they'll have, you know, team specific things.
Yeah.
Like there was just this package that ran for like 20 times last season that just had Jack McKeon, who was the manager of the Miami Marlins, and he's an old man, so he was a manager. He's one of those old mans who still has cigars every day.
Oh, bloody!
So he's that kind of guy, and he's coached everywhere. And I kept seeing Jack McKeon because we had an especially rainy summer that year. And they would just run and they would be like, they can be for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of stuff. And then they'll occasionally go back to the announcers. Well, still raining out. They haven't let us know if the game's being rained out yet, so we'll be back after this break. And
cuts back to exactly the same package.
Things.
Yeah. I mean, basically,
and it's just like, we'll look at the weather map, see where it is and what's going to happen.
Well, there's just a rainstorm parked over the stadium. We may be here for a while, and obviously games get delayed, etc. But I mean, commentary is the other beautiful thing. So I tend to, obviously, because I'm cheap, and also because we have the BBC. The BBC is, you know, particularly good with its sports commentary. In most respects, you know, I tend to listen to, you know, the sports that I follow. You know, okay, the BBC doesn't cover like a lot of, you know, the American sport, so I tend to like go on text only, because that's just how, you know, I follow it. You know, I you know, occasionally they will have NFL games on television when they come to, but it's only the London
games
game,
where they're in Britain,
the London games and the Super Bowl, which is like fair enough. Okay.
Do they pick up the ones when they go into Germany or no?
I don't think so. I think it's just the UK. I think they must have some contract with, you know, the UK broadcaster that goes, okay, this game is in the UK, we will show it on UK television because, you know, it's whatever, you know. But
and the NFL really wants a team in London. It is not happening.
Yeah.
I don't see how you. I mean, I'm not going to say it's not going to happen, because the Oasis reunion happened. So, but it is very unlikely that you're going to have a team 6 time zones away that's going to be wanting to fly back and forth.
Yeah,
to play football and practice.
Yeah. This is the thing. Like, you could, you know, for, you know, I mean, unless you went, okay, we're putting a full expansion in the UK, and, you know, that would be 4 teams in the okay, or you go, we're putting a team in Berlin, we're putting a team in London, we're putting a team in.
They tried that.
Oh, they did try that. Okay, there we go then.
Yeah, they had NFL Europe. There used to be World League football. That didn't go anywhere. But,
no, I can imagine.
NFL Europe kind
of, that has been tried.
Last decade or so, but it vanished.
Yeah, because this is the thing. Like, you know, it's it's, you know, you could go, and you know, because the one that tends to come up is the Jaguars, which is obviously Tony Khan's team, I think, isn't it? Because obviously he also owns Fulham Football Club, and it's like, oh well, we're just sequestered. Yeah, but they've got to then go 6 time zones to play a game, and then they got, you know, let's say they've got like a Wednesday night football and a Sunday night football. That means a team they have to go across, play a game, come back. Another team has to come across, play them, go back. You know, it's logistically complex. I mean, I could honestly see a team being in Canada before, you know, they being a team in Europe. And I think obviously Europe would require so many stipulations and so many, you know, tweaks and changes to how the NFL works, and whether you go, okay, we're going to send, you know, a number of teams, we're going to send like 4 teams over to the UK, they're all going to play each other, and then they're going to all play the London based team, and you know, and it gets into logistical chaos, because it's just like you've got, you know, teams thousands of miles from home, where, you know, oh, we've injured our player, oh, we've got to send out a player, you know, the night before. It's like, well, how many? He's got to get on a plane, go to the UK, sleep, presumably at some point, you know. But, you know, yeah, I mean, as I said, I could honestly see, you know, a team in Canada or Mexico before that. I think it's one of the pie in the sky sort of things, and, you know, you go, and to be honest, I probably think the market share will probably be about the same, you know.
I mean, the problem with anything with America and Mexico is people getting, you know, held hostage.
Oh, yes.
And, like, they'll know when you're out of the country, and then people will kidnap your family, and you'll just need so much for bodyguard stuff.
I mean, that's happened to Premier League players as well.
That's kind of, you know, stereotypical, and I apologize, but it is a thing you have to worry about in Mexico. Completely. I mean, you got one of the Liverpool players, Jota, who's like, father got kidnapped, and he's obviously from Colombia, and it's just like, oh, bloody hell, his dad's been kidnapped. You know, oh, Liverpool, you know, obviously being very supportive. You know, it's like, and it's like, you know, but no, as I said, it's one of these they come across, they play the games. You know, I think it would also lose that sense of like an occasion. It's like, oh, you know, here are the teams that are going to come across to London. Here, you know, they're going to play here and here and here, and it's like, oh, there's a team coming across to Berlin. You know, it ceases to become an occasion. I mean, they also did it in Japan, didn't they? If I remember correctly, they also had like NFL games. In Japan, and Japan has its own like NFL. They do have kind of their own football league, and they do have some preseason games where they let the Japanese players play for the American team in the preseason games.
Okay,
or at least cool. I remember that being a thing. That was the thing as far back as the late '90s, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is the thing. Like, I don't, and obviously now the Premier League also kind of does this as well. Obviously, particularly in the golf, because obviously the golf is the big, you know, we got to do the sports washing. We got to, you know, go across and bring, you know, sports to these people. We got to, you know, we want a World Cup, and it's like, well, how many? You know, and obviously you go, you know, obviously, and now obviously also touring the US is becoming quite popular, because you'll have, you know, Liverpool will go out to the US and they'll play, I don't know, the Sounders and a couple of other teams, and then come back, and it's like, you know, it's cool. It's like, you know, it's very international, but I do, you know, it's easy to go, okay, but this, that, and the other, and, you know, these other things, but, you know, it's one thing to do 1 or 2 games a season, you know, off in a different country. It becomes like logistically chaotic to be, you know, so many games, in, you know, across, and, you know, yeah. I think it's pie in the sky sort of thing, unless you had as I said, a whole division parked off in the UK, and then that starts to become less of a problem. But then again, you've got to then support 4 teams in a fairly geographically small area, and yeah.
There's also a big problem with the players as far as tournaments, because there are all these random tournaments, like Sunderland's out of this tournament, but the Carabao tournament. But I don't know if they're in another tournament, but they'll show up in another tournament, and I'm like, wait, I thought they were at... No, that's that tournament. That's this tournament.
Yeah, and you get so many managers complaining. You know, obviously, you know, you get so many managers going, oh, the boys are so tired, and, you know... And it's like, yeah, the baseball support would go, you played how many games this week? Two 2. Right. Yeah, come back to me when you played. How many is it baseball? Usually about 2 or 3 a week?
You can baseball you can play 6 to 7. It depends on how bad the schedule will get and if you got rain delayed. Sometimes you can play 8 if your game has been canceled due to rain.
How does
and
that work?
You have to play a doubleheader.
How does that work?
The dividing line is like the 5th. You have to get through the 5th inning. If you're through the 5th inning and an inning is completely over, then they will call a game if a game gets canceled due to rain, whatever that score is. If it's tied, or if like it's a weird situation, like it's 2-1, but the visiting team was at bat and they were just scored because the visiting team goes first because that's how we be gentlemanly. So if they just got ahead and then it started raining, it is postponed, and then they play the rest of the game this day. And literally that happened after 1 out in one game. Like, there was obvious rain between the Miami Marlins and the New York Mets. And instead of just calling the game, they tried to play as much as they could. They got one batter through, and they had one person on base. And then they had to play an entirely different game minus one batter months later.
That's wild.
And then there was a crazy thing last year where one guy pitched for one team, and then the game got postponed, and then he came back.
Oh, on the other team.
He was playing for the other team and pitched for the other team on the other side of the game.
That must be a one-off. I can't believe that would ever happen again.
I think there was like one other time that ever happened, because baseball is just this really strange sport. Like, they'll have trades for like player to be named later, and the player to be named later is just that player getting traded back, and that's happened twice, apparently.
Yeah. That's wild. I mean, in any other sport, you go, oh, we played the first leg of this game. Oh, we're gonna, let's say, let's out in Manchester United, Liverpool, and I don't know, Bayern Munich play a game, and it's around the transfer window, and a player gets traded from Bayern Munich to Liverpool. You probably have like uproar, because it's like he was the guy who scored the goal at like this game. It's like. Again, I don't think it would be impossible to go, I scored in both legs for each team. But, it would be a very, very questionable sort of thing. But, yeah. But, as I said, this is the thing, but also, I'm fascinated to, how that would work. So, would they split the team in half if they had 8 games to play? Because, obviously, your team cannot be in 2 places at once?
Well, the basic thing about double headers is that they will be in the same place where they played.
Oh, okay.
So it has to be the same place. Otherwise, you play on your day off. They'll make up the game on your day off. Like, it doesn't matter if you just flew to Los Angeles. If you were playing the Washington Nationals and it got rain delayed, you have to play that game in Los Angeles, then you have to fly your ass to Washington, D.C. and play the Nationals, and then you have to fly your ass back to wherever you're from, like, Miami, Seattle, wherever.
Oh, God.
That's where it gets difficult. Like, it doesn't have to be 2 different things. Like they do in spring training, which is the preseason for baseball, they do have split teams where they will play 2 games, and that's where you have like 3 or 4 different teams worth of players, and you need to check out all of them to see if they're good or not, and they will just split 2 teams and have 2 games at once. Like the preseason, spring training does not matter for most things. Like baseball doesn't exist, just released a video about how much the spring training does not matter for most people. It is a great watch. Go check that out.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you are in the minor leagues and want to get a major league spot, it is a huge deal for you. For everybody else, it is not. It is absolutely not. And the people who just hang their team's fate on how they did in spring training, don't. Absolutely don't.
No, absolutely don't.
Because 2 years ago, the Royals were the best team in spring training, or the second best team, and they were hitting the shit out of everything. They had one of the worst seasons on record, lost well over 100 games, and the biggest thing was they couldn't hit for shit. So spring training tells you nothing.
No, it's the same as the same as the preseason. Anything. It's like, we thrashed them X Y Z in the preseason. Yeah, and they were probably playing like an experimental lineup of their players, or they were basically going, okay, this doesn't work. Oh, we've lost them. How did that happen? We beat them in preseason. Yeah, preseason means shit. But I mean, the kind of question I suppose, or sort of from a British perspective, is, your college teams almost like replace like lower league, because obviously in English football, obviously you go, okay, obviously it's become more of a fashion to sort of buy players from abroad and from sort of if you Premier League, obviously you get players from Serie A, all the other sort of leagues, but also from like the lower league. And the college stuff always strikes me as being basically where, like, almost equivalent to a sort of a lower league, where it's like, these are the younger players, these are like players who are like learning. And this
kind of plays like it's a development league in of itself, and like some basketball will have the G League. Baseball most infamously has minor league system, which is it was single A, double A, and triple A. I don't know how much single A works anymore, because like that is like you're never going to make the majors. Just stop. But they do have double A and triple A teams in places that have lower population. Like the Royals minor league club is the Omaha Storm Chasers. And sometimes, like, when people are recovering from injuries, you'll sometimes see, like, an all-star or a Hall of Famer, like George Brett, like, he'll play a rehab game in Omaha before he comes back to Kansas City. But they also do have college leagues, which is mostly for younger players. Like, you can skip college if they draft you, and they also have an MLB draft, which is interesting, because if you are drafted high enough, they will offer you like $2 million, skip college, and you will skip college and just go straight to the minor leagues. Or you can play college ball and then go into the draft, get higher, and get more money. And that's kind of what they do. And they have name, image, likeness rights now that they're actually making money. That was a huge thing. Yeah,
because this is why the EA games.
College athletes could not make money. They got their tuition, they got room and board, they got everything to take care of themselves. What do you need money for?
Yeah.
For lots of things. Yeah. And I just watched a movie like from the 90s called Blue Chips, which is Nick Nolte as this college coach in California, who was like, he has to dip his hands into the corruption in paying players and like making sure this inner city family from Chicago has a nice country home. And this is like looked down as like, an American Gangster when Denzel Washington buys his family. It's like, where did that money come from? And it's just like, it come from because he was good at fucking basketball. Shut the fuck up, 1990s.
Yeah, because this is why I think you obviously this is going back to obviously to sports games, because obviously this is like another thing that obviously you play more than I have. I mean I used to play FIFA because it was a game. It was like one of the few co-op games I think my brother had. So it's like we'd play FIFA, and obviously he would usually beat me because he's good at video. He's slightly better at video games than me. But you had recently, I think it was the EA Games college football game, which had been like in gestation for like a decade because there was so much wrangling around these new image rights that obviously you got to go.
Like Manchester United had their own Super Nintendo game.
Yeah. Oh no, it doesn't surprise me. Like you go, obviously, and we've got to like the case of like obviously the most famous franchise is still Madden, and obviously Madden is based around John Madden.
John Madden. Okay. Yeah. Enough of that.
Yeah.
But who was a coach in the 70s and early 80s,
as a commentator,
and who had one hell. If you want to talk about like some sideburns, that man had the king of all sideburns. Like Elvis is looking at that and feeling inadequate. But like. Yeah. And then he just got hooked in with like the EA people, and EA figured out football on a video game system before anybody else, so they just became the default thing. Until they became the default thing because they were a monopoly, and they just stopped giving a shit. Like, there are people like when the monopoly first happened who will defend like, the 2010s Maddens to a death, but there comes a point to like once they got up to the Xbox 360. Well, maybe like the PlayStation 4 and Xbox Series 1 where they just stopped giving a shit.
Yeah.
Because no matter what they did, no matter how much money they spent, the profits were the same. So they stopped doing like the story mode. They had a weird story mode that was supposed to be like Friday Night Lights where you're this country person, you were making all these decisions instead of playing football. And they tried that for a year, and they're like, no, that costs too much money, and we made the same. So toss that out. We're just going to have this kind of same-ish game. Like, I don't know how much they've tried to improve it, but from the videos I've watched on people, because I haven't played a Madden game since the Wii version, which it's worth trying out. Like, everybody who, like, hates the waggle controls, like, hates that, but it's fun to have as an alternative.
Yeah.
Which is why what I like in a lot of sports games is different stuff.
Yeah.
But
the Madden, they had obviously the college football game, which I think, as I said, you said.
Yeah, they brought it back, because it was so popular. I'm like, for a lot of people, it wasn't like Madden that was the huge transition. Like when we got to PlayStation 2 college football, it was the most amazing thing ever because it felt like a football broadcast.
Yeah.
They got the 3 people they usually bring in for ESPN broadcasts, and they had lengthy commentary. I mean, like anything else, you still get like the things they say over and over again. To the point where like my brother had a saying like, Kirk Herbstreit, you don't know. To like when Kirk Herbstreit would just be down on why did they make that call? Why did he make that pass? Why did he do that? And it's just like, and then there's like stuff that filters into the fans like, oh, if he was good at catching, he wouldn't be a cornerback because he would be on the offense if he was good at catching things. Or you could call offensive holding on every single play if you wanted. That has sunk down to the people, like because it was so widespread, and they brought it back last year for college, which was admirable. Even though, like, I got to I have to take care of my debts before I get online play on PlayStation Network, and you can only basically play make your own player mode and exhibition mode if you don't have PlayStation Online for that. So like, and obviously 3/4 of the game is cut out for me because I do not have online support right now. Yeah. But it's fun. The problem is they made it most like real football, so you have to like check down. You have to like really analyze the defense. You have to like have football IQ. Otherwise, that game is gonna run you the fuck over because like you will see people who play football games for life, like Kofi who used to be at Secret Base. He now does his own thing now and is going elsewhere. But like when he would try to do a franchise mode and he would just get like picked off 3 or 4 times, and he would have to change the quarterback to a running quarterback. But then like they have like damage mode, which is why teams have 3 or 4 running backs now is because they get beat up so easily because of how in shape the defense is.
Oh yeah.
And they have realistic, like, getting where if you, like, run your quarterback 3 or 4 times in a row, they're not going to be able to do much because they're just beat the hell up. So, like, it is that realism that's in there, which I don't know how much realism Madden has, but, like, it's pretty much the same game from what I've understood. They've tried to change it up the past few years, but, like, it's still weirdly buggy, and it's still, like, hasn't added features like the really meaty ones used to have, or what even Madden used to have. Like, there was that Hall of Fame 2014-2015 one where you could play all of the old Madden games with recent rosters, and it had so much stuff like that. And you know, even in 2K5, when it might have been Madden 2005. Apologies if I got it a decade off, because they did have it like Hall of Fame edition, like in the 2015s. That was nothing, but like when there was 2K5, which was NFL 2K. They used to belong to Sega. Now it's 2K Studios, but they came out with NFL 2K5, which was one of the most advanced, feature-rich games in, you know, sports history. And they sold it for $19, $19.99. You could buy it for the game, and that just wrecked the market so much that everybody had to get their own rights, and everybody got the wrong rights. Like, Madden got the rights to NFL, and the people who played Madden, and it's arguable now, and I've seen videos on like Madden 2005 and the other ones where they were literally trying to have a fantastic game, and okay, I just didn't play those. So it can be an argument now, but like 2K5 was the superior version, and it sold for $20, and then they just monopolized it. And then 2K bought baseball, where EA was the better baseball, and that just it fanned out from there. And MLB The Show was just like, okay, well, we have the rights for PlayStation, so we're just going to make some of the best, most realistic game ever, and we'll just keep releasing it on PlayStation. And now you can play MLB The Show on Xbox and PC, which is fucking bizarre to me. It's like when Sega became a, you know, third-party studio instead of a first-party studio, and you got Sega games coming out on the GameCube.
Oh yeah, that was wild.
It's weird things like that, and like that moment is where the game started to break apart and become less, and then come back together. And I think they're finally getting back to why these games work, but it's also the business side where you can't have like Power Pros, which there are 4 different ways you can create a pro on Power Pros. And one is just like this board game where you just like
game of life it.
Like what for whatever stuff you get, and they have multiple story modes that every new iteration has a new story mode that they have to write. I mean, granted, NBA 2K used to be the most amazing one for that, and they did NBA 2K did a similar thing where they ruined their own stuff by they sold one of the best version of their game for $3, and it was digital only, but you could buy it for $3, and it was one of the best sports games ever made. Yeah. And then it just, while they were at their peak, after that they sold full price for lesser products because they put gambling into it, where you're not playing with money, you're playing with the points you have to get to advance your character, which can be bought for money.
Yeah, then you get into loot crate and sort of,
Yeah, and instead of like NFL stars breaking into your apartment complex.
What?
Where you have your own basketball court where you can practice and earn game points or like player points. Like it gets to a point where you have to pay 560 points to improve your 3 points. So like playing this game and getting 1 point now and then is going to do nothing, but it's still fun to do whenever you just you don't want to play a full game. You don't want to interact with the story. But now your home base is your business base where you talk about your branding, and like if you didn't bring over your player from last year and you don't have enough points, you have to play the same game over and over and over until your player gets good enough stats to cross certain points. And this is during their rookie season, and which is kind of spurring you to buy points. And they have there's gambling, and to hang out with the NBA stars, you have to go to the Mountain Dew court and play online multiplayer, which you have to pay for.
Sure.
And yeah,
this is the thing with like FIFA. Like the other thing with like FIFA is obviously now FIFA isn't FIFA. So FIFA is like a British tradition, and the other British tradition is obviously the other simulation, the really nerdy side, which is the beloved Football Manager series, which isn't coming out this year because somehow Sega forgot what they were doing and how to make a Football Manager game, despite having made one for like the last 20 plus years. Anyway, but like FIFA is like I know people who would buy they would buy a console and then every year they'd buy FIFA, and it's one of these things that just bewilders me. It's like you could play anything on your game. What are you playing on your console? Football. What is this? It's the same football game you had last year. What is going on here? And obviously you go into like second-hand gaming stores in the UK, and it'd be like there will be a wall of like there'll be like a section, the Fs in like most game for most games console will be FIFA 2000, the various FIFA, and it'll be like you get to a point where it's like it's 50 pence for like the old or earliest FIFA on that console, because they literally have probably more value as a drinks coaster than as and that's the game, and that's
we've had our fill of 50-cent Madden stuff, and a garage sale you will have whatever sports games,
and there's the curse
I did that
as well
at my last garage sale, but at least I had Super Nintendo games. They're retro or something. You can try it out.
Yeah, and then there's also but obviously the other sort of thing I suppose is and obviously FIFA competed for a while with Pro Evo before Konami forgot how to make video games, but the other Pro Evo was like the sort of the poor man. It was like, oh, you play Pro Evo. Oh, what teams do you have? And they'll be like, Rodcaster United and Gunners, and for some reason they had rights to one team and one team only, which is Juventus, and obviously Juventus in FIFA football will be called like Turin football team or something, or the old lady team, and it's like, why Juventus? What did you look at with Konami and went, yeah, this is the game we want to be? And it's like, but anyway, there's the other sort of element.
I'm sorry. I'm just going to put the best part of those is when you have to put something from another company into your game.
God,
like when there's a team sponsored by Pro Evolution Soccer and FIFA has to make their uniforms with the Pro Evolution Soccer logo and vice versa.
Very funny.
And you have to, or in MLS, like the Seattle team was sponsored by Xbox for the longest time. So you would play like FIFA, and there would be this on PlayStation 2 or 3, and you would have this team that has Xbox on their uniforms. And that's some of the best part. And then there's other little things, like there's in basketball, they do these fun little sound effects, like when you make a free throw, like it'll be the Mario coin from Super Mario Brothers.
Oh,
and
God,
if you make 2, you get the mushroom, and you would be playing that on a PlayStation or an Xbox, and they would put the coin because that's authentic to the arena.
Yeah, and you had obviously and obviously you got like the Nintendo sports games, which I always felt were great fun. You know, the Mario Tennis, Mario Soccer, Mario. Mario. You got into like really strange things like
the Mario Soccer games that like get one printing and then sell for $200.
Yeah, and then like you had the Nintendo basketball game, which is I think 3x3 hoops.
Oh yes. They had like NBA Street.
Yeah.
And the Nintendo version, they had Mario characters.
Yeah.
Or if you go on one of my favorite sports franchises of all time, SSX, on one of the GameCube renditions, I believe that's like World Tour or something like that. They had you could have snowboard with Mario and stuff like that.
Yeah, but the one
SSX3, one of the greatest games ever.
Yeah, the one that particularly wilds me out is Mario Hopes 3-on-3, which contains characters from the Final Fantasy franchise, and this is the stinger. Mario Hoops 3-on-3 contains the first music composed by Masahiro Soken, who is now the Final Fantasy 14 composer. So, you know, sports, ladies and gentlemen, sports. But there's also like the if I'm correct, the Madden curse.
Yes, there is the Madden curse. One thing I do want to put is that there was like because the producer who recently died at Nintendo, like one of the first games he worked on was golf, and they hid golf in the Switch.
Iwata,
Iwata. Yeah. And so they did do that. But the Madden curse is that if you are on the cover of Madden, your team is either cursed for that year, or the athlete is cursed for that year, or the team's never the same. Or you're never the same. Like, I can't remember certain examples, but, it was a college curse too, because they had Joey Harrington on one of the college, and Joey Harrington's career after Oregon went nowhere. So, there are various forms of that.
Yeah, because it's one of these things that like, and obviously I think there's no curse with the with FIFA football, but you know, if you are on the box of this, it is, you know, you have arrived as a player. Same thing as like the American tradition. What's the other one? The appearing on the Wheaties box, which is another really
the Wheaties box is the big one.
Yeah.
And now we're getting on all sorts of cereal boxes. My player in NBA 2K18 or 19 or whatever it was on Reese's cereal. That's what I endorsed. Because you can control your endorsements, so I did that.
Yeah.
Like you can control your shoe endorsements, which was a fun little thing until it became you hung out with Jake from State Farm instead of like former NBA pros who are now in the Hall of Fame. So
wild. Yeah, but that's the thing. Like sponsor, you know, sporting curses fascinate me. It's like, you know, obviously there's the Curse of the Bambino, which is the White Sox.
Yeah, and that ended, and then there was the Curse of the Goat, which was the Cubs.
Yes.
Like this farmer wouldn't let his goat into the game, so he cursed the team, and it got really weird and cult-like. One of my most told stories is it was 2004, and I was in a dorm. My dorm had been torn down, so I had to go to another dorm, and I had to have a roommate, and it was a freshman, and they were a huge Cubs fan. That year, the Cubs were having a huge breakout season, got into the NL championship game against the Marlins, and this is after they hadn't won the World Series in over 100 years. So I got to see all of the cult-like stuff, and that's when the Steve Bartman stuff happened.
Oh boy.
And that with a lot of, like, if you don't know, Steve Bartman was a fan in Game 6 of the NL Championship Series.
No, I've heard of this.
he reached out to a ball that was going to be caught by the Cubs player, and that would have been the second out, and that would have pretty much the Marlins were down 6 or some like hard to come back from number, and after that the Marlins just like ran straight through the game, and then they won Game 7, and Steve Bartman has pretty much changed his name, has disappeared. He has not come back into any limelight. Cubs people have apologized, and it's just one of the most. There are some things you cannot undo. And no matter how maniacal on us we are as sports people, we have to be better than this, because they just scapegoated him. A weird way to put it, but for the Cubs losing, even though they had an entire game after that. And they just destroyed his life, and it's just like, I've had arguments with people, well, any other sports team would do that, but it's just like, but we have to change, and it's like, we have to change as a society. We have to change as a people. I mean, they're not gonna, but that is the idea we have to have. We can't just, other people would do it, but that's the moment where I had to step back, and it's just like, I have to be better at being a sports fan than what I have been. And like seeing the Cubs and the Colt, like they would have like chants like, we beg you, GOAT, reverse the curse.
It starts to get into very I mean, they did so many.
It's very weird.
I'm looking at the Wikipedia page, and they did so many strange things. They blew the ball up, used it in pasta sauce. The chair is like moved, so it's not, they no longer have that numbered chair, and it's like what I do know is that there is a happy ending to this.
The Cubs.
Well, there's a happy ending for Bartman. Bartman was sent a ring. Was sent one of the rings for when they won. When they won in 2016. Yeah, and then you get into very strange. I mean, there are the majority of the big curses, I think, are now, because obviously you've got my favourite, which is the curse of the Colonel. Which is you explain it. You know better than I do. So the curse of the Colonel is it's an interesting one. So the year is 1985. Japan is Japanese baseball. The Hanshin Tigers are playing the Seibu Lions. Thanks to Randy Bass, who's like, obviously one of the American players. He is now a politician, apparently. Things get a little bit out of hand, and the fans are going, we need to hey, we're going to throw something to like represent each of these players into the thing. We don't have any white people. Never mind. There is a statue of a white man here. They throw a plastic statue of Colonel Sanders off a bridge into the river. The statue does not come back intact. So begins the curse of the Colonel. And the 18-year losing streak, where and obviously they sent divers down to try and find the statue. Somebody died in the canal trying to get the statue out. They finally find the statue in 2009, minus a hand and its glasses. And during this, obviously, the Hanshin Tigers get to the World Japan Series. Obviously, the Japan answer of the World Series, equivalent of the World Series in 2003, 2005, and 2014. The curse is now broken. As of 2023, so they basically went. They then threw a fan cosplaying the Colonel into the river. The statue, which obviously is really bad. I mean, pictures of it is just battered and thing. Was finally buried in March of last year.
To pay respects.
Yeah, absolutely. The only major curse that I can see is still going is the Rocky Colavito one, which is the Cleveland Dodgers doomed never to win anything.
And obviously there are some exceptions to that because they have LeBron James, or they had LeBron James.
The Cavaliers,
he won a champion for the Cavaliers, but and I'm going to be bouncing around, but like Cleveland, you know, they have a reputation for a lot of things, but it's just like, to tell you how like much branding has changed, there is a 1989-1990 movie called Major League, where it's about the Cleveland Indians. It is an R-rated movie, where Bob Uecker, who was a professional commentator, may rest in peace, and he's in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Gets drunk every game and goes, "One hit? That's all we got? One goddamn hit? You can't say goddamn on the air. Who gives a shit? No one's listening anyway." And like they will have like professional league baseball players going, "Hey, fuck you! No, you, fuck you, asshole! What's the matter? Rookie can't stand a little fucking fun?" And they are playing as a Major League Baseball team. I don't think that one had Major League players in it. I mean, they had some, but they weren't used by name. But, you know, they used the Indian branding, which was their 1990 logo, which is like this found art from the movie Ghost World Racist.
Oh, let me have a look. Oh, God. Oh, boy. Oh, dear.
Yes.
Oh, Jesus. No, that's, yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't as bad, I should say, bad as it was in the 50s, but in the 80s and 90s, it was still up there, and they were still using it. And it was to show how, like of an antique this team was, and how out of fashion they were, and how much money they didn't have.
Yeah. It makes
which
Commanders
was a good part
look,
of the writing on the writer-director's part. It's a great movie. Check it out. Like it's a traditional sports movie, but it's fucking great. And then there's not a League of Their Own, Little Big League, where a middle school kid becomes the manager of the Minnesota Twins, and it has real players, a lot of real players, including Ken Griffey Jr. And there's a subplot in a PG kids movie, rated PG, about porn addiction, where he gets addicted to the porn film Night Nurses from Jersey, and that's where the branding goes. And that's a look. I keep veering off from things. I think since I only have 1 hour and 19 minutes left to record on my backup computer, because mine's on the fritz. Let's talk about our favorite. What are your favorite sports memories, if you have them?
Oh boy, yeah. Let's start with the obvious one. So it's Max Verstappen winning the first World Championship is just. So, how much do you know about this? Because this is like a really contentious one. This is like one of these ones that goes.
Okay.
So
I mean, I know Max Verstappen is pretty much unstoppable.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So it is the end of the 2020-21 season. They are basically on equal points. If Lewis Hamilton wins a world championship, if Lewis Hamilton wins this race, he wins the world championship. If Max Verstappen wins this race, he's the world championship. Final lap. Safety car is obviously there, and obviously you can argue about this decision until the cows come home. The decision is made to let the last lap be a racing lap, and it's just one of the greatest sports moments of just like, out of the jaws of defeat comes victory, because he has got he's pitted for fresh tyres. Hamilton is on old tyres. There's no DRS, no mechanically aided taking over, and it's probably one of the greatest final laps of any race. Just absolutely flat out gets past Hamilton, wins the world championship.
And it sounds similar to the ending of Days of Thunder, where they go into the pit stop while the safety car is out, They go out before the safety car passes them, ramp up to full speed, and then the safety car goes off, and that's how they get back into the race.
Yeah, that not undissimilar. I mean, it's kind of amusing that like the first 2 championships Verstappen wins is this, and then the Japanese Grand Prix where it's like it's heavy raining, and eventually it's like. And it starts, obviously, you know, they finish the race, and obviously, because the race has had to be shortened, it supposedly, you know, everyone goes, okay, and then it starts coming through, no, you know, and they literally have him in, like, the cool-down room, and go, no, you've won the World Championship, and it's like, you serious? You serious? I've won? And then he goes to this little anti-room, where obviously they've got everything set up for, like, they've got, like, almost like a World Champion throne. And he just sits in there and looks a little bit awkward for about a couple of minutes, and then comes back out. I mean, it's going to be interesting this season, because obviously it's a far tighter season than I think it has been previously. I mean, I would be interested to see where this season goes. I'm confident, but I feel like things are going to go very interestingly if, you know, if he doesn't win a World Championship. I think he may well go elsewhere than Red Bull, but that's it. Trying to think of another one now. I'm a little bit too young, because obviously I wasn't supporting Seattle when we won our one and only Super Bowl.
Yeah.
A little bit young for Liverpool's miracle. I mean, the miracle of Istanbul is how much do you know about the miracle of Istanbul? Because it's like it's one of the greatest football So Liverpool are playing AC Milan, and this is like height of their powers, mid 2000s AC Milan, and they were playing it in Istanbul, and by half time Liverpool are 3-0 down against, you know, probably the best other team of the 2000s. You know, we got a team, you know, stacked with, you know, so many fantastic, you know, Madrid players, and it's just absolutely bonkers. And, you know, and then Liverpool in the second half come back, you know, in 6 minutes they've equalised, goes to penalties. Liverpool eventually, you know, win the penalty shootout, and it's just absolutely just bonkers football. What was I just trying to think of another game now? I mean, this is the thing. Like, I know, obviously, it's like, and obviously, I mean, we are going to probably get another really good memory in a few weeks' time when Liverpool win the Premier League. I mean, that's inevitable, I think. But yeah, as I said, I'm more just, I mean, I've been there for some really good games. I've been there for, like, you know, the comeback against Barcelona, where Liverpool are like on aggregate are 4-0 down. And then, you know, they get a goal, and then they get another goal, and then it's like another third goal, and then there's the greatest corner I think ever taken in football history, where it comes to Origi, and nobody, obviously this is against Barcelona, who are like, again, you know, that's including, you know, Messi, and just like completely wrong foots them and scores. None of them are ready, and even Messi sort of turns around and goes, what has just happened here? What have I just witnessed? Which I think is another great moment.
It's funny because Messi was in town last month.
Yeah, oh god, it was cold.
For one of those extra tournaments for MLS. Sporting Kansas City and Miami. Sporting Kansas City is awful this year, but anyway, they were set to play during a blizzard on one of the coldest nights in the history of soccer. I mean, aside from Russian League, but they delayed it, but they played it the next night where it was colder, but it wasn't snowing.
I mean, I don't even know what Messi's reaction to that sort of, because we obviously have, like,
and Messi scored a goal.
It's like perfectly fine then.
They won that leg by 1-0 with a Messi goal. So
wild. Yeah. But no, as I said, I mean, we've commented on this before, where, like, you have games in Buffalo, and Buffalo, I think you told me, just gets down to insane temperatures. It's just like,
It's not so much they get into insane temperature. They have ocean and lake affect snow, where you'll get like 10 feet of snow in one part, and then there will be nothing elsewhere. Like it is a very weird area as far as weather is concerned, because you'll get a lot, and then you'll go like 2 miles down the road, and they'll get only like a few inches. Like there is no consistency, but when you get it, you get hit. It's like Battleship.
Yeah, but you get where was it that you I think the Chiefs had someone's helmet shatter because it was so cold.
That was a couple years ago. They were at home against Miami. Kansas City doesn't get as much snow, but we get very cold.
Yeah,
there are at least 1 or 2 days where it's like I can't remember what it was in centigrade, but in Fahrenheit it was -7 or something, and they were playing the Miami Dolphins, and one of our sports reporters got frostbite on his finger.
Jesus.
Yeah, he was all right. He didn't have to have a finger removed. No. It was just a small version of it because we were doing our best. But like somebody's helmet shattered after getting tackled because it was so cold. And I'm just like, and you weren't zipping the ball. You were doing a lot of screenplays. You weren't throwing the ball as hard as you can because you could hurt somebody by how cold it was in their hands, and like they would have to sit out of play because like that pain would just reverberate. It would get that bad.
Oh yeah, because it's like, this is the thing, like, we in the UK, if it's that cold, it's like nobody is playing football, nobody's got the pitch is frozen solid, etc, etc. But it's this is the thing. But that's sort of like, that's wild in sort of like that sort of thing. But yeah.
So we're gonna get to mine. I have a few. But the first one is the first team I ever saw win a championship, which would be the Marlins in '97, and they won the World Series in 7 games against the Cleveland Indians of all teams. But and this was very much the wrong team won, and everybody will always say the wrong team won whenever the Marlins win the World Series, because it could have been the Cubs breaking their curse, it could have been Cleveland breaking their curse. So they like kept curses going on 2 different teams. But 1997 went to Game 7, and both teams were extremely good. And it came down to Game 7, and Edgar Renteria hit the game-winning ball that went straight through. And I started the big song was Renteria at the time, so I ain't got no Renteria. Sangria, I believe it. But it was like, I ain't got no Renteria. My brother was correcting me, but it's like Edgar Renteria hit it. And then Edgar Renteria would win World Series on multiple baseball teams, even when he was in his late 30s and 40s. I think the San Francisco Giants dug him up just to specifically win a World Series in 2013, 2012, something like that. But and then there was the other World Series they won in 2003, 2004. And, I had a roommate with a Cubs fan, and we had to interview each other and do a story on each other for my Journalism 201 class. And they were just interviewing me in the middle of the clinching game against the Yankees that the Marlins had, and you could just tell my roommate was still really mad, and after next semester he wasn't my roommate. I had a 2-person room by myself because that kind of broke it off. Also, I was a slob of a person because I had ADHD and I extremely low blood pressure, which is a bad combination. And let's see. Then there was when the Steelers won Super Bowl XL. Super Bowl 40, but they do Roman numerals, so it's XL. It was the extra large one because they had Jerome Bettis, who I forget looks like an NFL Blitz, which was the arcade. It was the version of NBA Jam for football, which is called NFL Blitz, and all the people were crazy huge and slammed into people. And that's what Jerome Bettis looked like in real life. And in the AFC Championship game, like, there was this moment where Jerome Bettis was going to get the touchdown and clinch the game because they were up by barely a score. And if Indianapolis came back and got a field goal, they would win the game. Jerome Bettis, of all people, fumbles the ball, and the defense picks it up and starts running. Ben Roethlisberger, the quarterback, is the only person who can tackle him and tackles him. And, like, it's thank goodness, like, Ben Roethlisberger is he is a large, muscular man for a quarterback. Like, he is not Peyton Manning. He is built, which was why he was a running quarterback until he got snapped in half twice. And by the miracles of medicine, he could still play football, unlike in the 80s where if you watched that happen, you just kept the tape and the person became a commentator because he was not playing football ever again.
Yeah.
And so that tackle eventually led to Indianapolis trying to kick a field goal, and it went wide right, and then the Steelers eventually won the Super Bowl. I don't remember much of the Super Bowl because I think that was Seattle, and everybody was going for Seattle. And like Seattle had a quarterback that played for Iowa State, Seneca Wallace, and he became a receiver because he wasn't a great quarterback in the NFL or a very good one. He was one of the many the Browns went to hell quarterbacks.
Oh God.
But he was a receiver on Seattle that year, and he had stats in the Super Bowl, which is nothing I can say for Iowa Hawkeye quarterbacks. So fuck you, Iowa Hawkeyes. But I don't remember much of that game. The Steelers didn't play well. It was mostly like a special teams defensive plays that were featured, and Ben Roethlisberger had, like, I believe the lowest quarterback rating for a winning quarterback in the Super Bowl. And then they came back and beat the Cardinals, which was just like they had like an all-star team at that point. It was less special, but I still remember it. And then the Sidney Crosby teams winning the Stanley Cups. I remember because I would always be at weddings. One was my wedding. The first time it happened, I was at somebody else's wedding in the middle of northern Kansas. It was on the border between Nebraska and Kansas, where there's a lot of these little towns where all these people that go to like either Kansas City or Lincoln or Omaha get married. They'll go to town, get married, find someone in Nebraska, and then get married in their small town. So I had to go to one of those, and then I had to somehow find a radio station where there was hockey, and then find out the Penguins were getting slaughtered in that game. And then they won Game 7 against the Red Wings and won their first Stanley Cup in a while, or at least the first one with Sidney Crosby. And then I believe it was this. No, it probably was the third time where it was my wedding. I was getting married, and I had to like put the phone away because it was the wedding.
Yeah.
And then way later, I went and they got slaughtered, but they eventually won in 7 games again. So, like, I guess I need to get invited to more weddings if I want the Penguins to win the Stanley Cup.
Again, yeah.
Yeah, and I also have memories of, like, old school, like, 90s. I mean, it's not old school, like, people didn't wear hockey masks, goalie masks.
Oh, boy,
but it was the old school 90 ones where the games would start at, like, 8:30 in the evening, and they would have triple overtime.
Jesus.
And it would be 3-4 in the morning until the game got over, and you couldn't even celebrate. You just dropped, and you had to go to sleep and then wake up at 7 in the morning to go to school.
Yeah, that's brutal. That's like
that is brutal. And the Timberwolves have not won the NBA championship, but I do have like a memory from like when Kevin Garnett was on there, and they had their best chance, and God, they were so going to do it until they ran into the Sacramento Kings, and they're not the ones who beat them, but I happened to be dating a woman from Sacramento who was a big Sacramento Kings fan at the time, and that's another cult where, like, the entire NBA has a conspiracy to keep the Sacramento Kings from winning anything. That's another cult I ran into. But they in the second round of the playoffs, the quarterfinals, Minnesota played the Sacramento Kings, and it went to 7. It was a classic series, and I was on the phone with my girlfriend at the time, and like at the end of it, when like Sacramento threw up a shot and didn't go in, there was just silence, and it's just like, you want to celebrate, but you don't. It's like, don't say anything. You don't say anything. And then, because the Lakers were like the super team at the time with Shaq and Kobe, they got through their team in 5 days, and they were just waiting with, like, you know, iced tea, like, where you been, guys? While the Timberwolves were exhausted, and they put up at least somewhat of a fight, but they lost that series, and then, like, they did it again with the current team, and, you know, Edwards and Cat and Karl Anthony Towns, I should say. His nickname's Cat because K-A-T.
Yeah.
And they were the team we thought they were going to do it. We so wanted them to do it, and they didn't. And I think mainly because, now, I will give my, like, Ben Roethlisberger was a sex pest for a while, so I completely, like, denounced Ben Roethlisberger. I got rid of my jersey and all of that stuff after that stuff. Edwards is, now that he's the guy for the Timberwolves, I have such a hard time with him because he's a kid. He started out as a kid, and he does kid things. Like, there was a report, like, he was recorded shouting a gay slur at someone, and there was a report that he asked for somebody's Venmo so he could give them money for an abortion. And just stories like that, like, you are 20 years old and in the NBA, and holy shit, you've got to realize everything you do is being recorded.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And now his big problem is that he, like, antagonizes the other teams so much that they make it personal. And, like, half the Western Conference makes it personal against him. So, like, Denver, and there's Memphis, and maybe Phoenix a little bit, although Phoenix is at war with themselves more. And it's just like, you gotta stop pissing off these teams, because then they get back into the series, and you give them an excuse, and then you get tired, and then you lose to the team that gets fried by the Celtics.
Yeah, and you haven't got the physicality
last year.
Yeah, and you haven't got the physicality of certain other players who would also...
because you've been playing... Because they got to rest with 5 games, and then, like, you aren't better than the Kevin Garnett teams. You lost in 5 too. Yeah. So it's just this...
Yeah. And they're not
but I remember... Granted, it's last year, so I don't have the energy to be nostalgic about it, but, like, the Kevin Garnett one, like, just sticks into my mind just because there was so much going on, even though they didn't win. So, and let me see here. And then there's games with my son. I take my son to Sporting KC games. I took him to the Royals game. I went where they played the Marlins last year.
Yeah.
One of the Sporting KC games is they had, like, there's an American tournament where you play lower leagues, and they played the Omaha Union, which was a misnomer as I ever, because Omaha has never supported unions. But
yep.
They like roasted them 7-0, and, like, we just had drunk fans just taunting them. And then there was another game where like, my kid is good luck to Sporting KC, and I should probably go to a game, but I don't have the money at the moment, where, like, there was this good team, and Sporting KC was on a very much a downturn, and they turned around starting that game. And they won handily, and my kid takes credit for that, and I gave him his lucky seat. And he was wearing the jersey with his lucky number, which was 18.
Oh. I mean, your fans are fascinating. The Sporting KC fan base is fascinating.
It's fascinating in and of itself because they have they used to have an anti-fascist group of supporters who were all Lupin the Third. like lookalikes. They wore masks, but their logo was Lupin the Third.
Yeah, which is just wild. I mean, obviously that's not that unique. I mean, obviously in Germany you got St. Pauli, who are, the anti-fascist football team to end all anti-fascist football teams, which are just like, we are leaving. They were like the first major, European team to leave Facebook and Twitter and go, no, we're just going to be over on here on Blue Sky chilling. And that's the thing. At the end of the day, regardless of what sport you follow, the fans make the sport. You can get sort of
better
going,
or worse.
Yeah, you can get you can get nostalgic about the 12s and the Gunners and the etc. The fandoms of any the obviously the Tifosi for Ferrari. You can get that is what makes a sport. You obviously, when we saw during the pandemic, football without fans, rugby without fans, NFL without fans, baseball without fans is nothing. It's a shadow of itself.
And, one of my greatest memories as well was like I was learning perler beads, which is like pixel art, at 4 a.m. while watching Korean baseball, which was the only thing going.
Korean baseball. Which
was the SK Wyverns, who are now the SK Landers, which is a less cool name. Like Wyvern, underrated dragon. And also, like, that was when the Marlins were starting to regain some of their form, and they just had this taxi team of like 40 or 50 dudes that would like funnel in and out, that would just eke out 2-1 games until they got to the playoffs by beating the Yankees of all goddamn teams.
Yeah, it's weird.
With the pitcher Bruce Boxberger, I believe his name was, who was one of the last pitchers to clinch the playoff spot.
Yeah. Sports are weird, man. Sports are weird. It's like
sports are weird.
All these people with very strange names.
He is one, syllable away from being like the fighting baseball Bobson Dognut, Sleeve McDykel baseball names.
Yeah, I mean it's brilliant. Sports are great.
Unfortunately, I think we have to call this game, because I think we have to call it because my backup PC is about to run out of memory.
Hard drive has stopped play. We will.
Yeah. Well, before that.
Yep. Yeah. Before that. Happy April Fools. Yeah.
Happy April Fools. This is our April Fools show. We'll be back to normal things later.
Probably. Well, as normal as we ever get on the Thom and Joe show.
Yeah.
We'll be back with anime and manga next episode. We might do a sports anime. That'll be fun.
Maybe.
I've been told. Yeah, we might do sports anime.
I've been Joe the Man Stratman.
I've been Tom. I've forgotten my sports nickname.
Tom CIA Langley.
Sim CIA Langley. We'll see you on the next Thom and Joe show. See you later. Enjoy sports.
Enjoy sport ball.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.